Founders often say that they want freedom, but then they design businesses that are completely dependent upon them. Why do you think this tension exists? Is it control, fear, ego, or something else?
Yeah, it's probably all of the above, and maybe also lack of knowledge of how to build a business that is independent of them, a self-managing business. Probably that too. And even if they are able to delegate everything, just make decisions, even that is a huge mental load to make too many decisions. There is a video of Jeff Bezos where he actually talks about him only wanting to do 3 decisions a day, no more than 3 decisions. And he basically keeps in shape, and he does everything in order to be in the best position to make those 3 decisions count. So we are going to become a bottleneck if the business is not able to be not just marginally profitable, but substantially profitable. And most buyers want to see the minimum double-digit net margins. If the business is not able to do that, then it's not going to be transferable. So profit is important.
Welcome back to Succession Stories, the podcast where we share great insights and honest conversations about building value in your business and eventually letting go. Today's guest, I am so excited to speak with him. It's Steve Prada, coach, strategist, and exit planning expert. He's the kind of guy who can look at your org chart and tell you gently that you are the bottleneck in your business. He has amazing experience as the founder of Summit OS, and he's a certified exit planning advisor. He's worked with hundreds of growth-minded entrepreneurs over the years to help them systematize their businesses, build leadership teams, and create companies that can thrive with or without you. Steve, welcome to Succession Stories.
Well, Laurie, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. I want to make just a small correction. I am not officially a CIPA or certified exit planning advisor, but I consider myself to be actually an honorary one because I've written a book about the topic. So I feel like I should be given the title without having to do the work.
Well, we acknowledge that and also appreciate the expertise that you have. I think regardless of a certification or not, we definitely speak the same language when it comes to creating business value and helping entrepreneurs and founder-led businesses really thrive where they are. So let's dive in. I want to start with the founder identity trap. It's a topic that kind of bites us in the end if we're really not aware of how much our business means to us and how much our identity is wrapped up. I see this all the time in founder-led companies. Founders often say that they want freedom, but then they design businesses that are completely dependent upon them. Why do you think this tension exists? Is it control, fear, ego, or something else?
Yeah, it's probably all of the above, and maybe also lack of knowledge of how to build a business that is independent of them, a self-managing business. Probably that too. But thinking about the founder mentality, thinking about back about the clients I had, and also myself, having been a founder and being a founder again. Many of us, and I think Michael Gerber talked about this in the E-Myth originally. We are basically going out in the world. We're building a business, and there is a reason we are doing that and not staying in employment with a corporation, because we want to be more independent. Maybe we have some kind of a creative streak that we want to manifest. Maybe there's this controlling element that we want to be in charge of our own lives. Whatever reason we do this, it is kind of a solution to the symptoms that we are having to become a founder, become an entrepreneur. And then when we think about exiting the business or even making the business independent, then it's hard to let go because we still have that need, that original need. And now we have the vehicle that helps us fulfill that. And it's kind of, counterintuitive for us or for entrepreneurs to let it go. I don't know. I mean, it's a great question. I never heard anyone ask it quite this way. And this is the best I can come up with.
At what point does being indispensable stop being a badge of honor and start becoming a liability, especially when we're talking about succession or eventually an exit?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much an individual can do, and even if they are able to delegate everything, just make decisions, even that is a huge mental load to make too many decisions. There is a video of Jeff Bezos where he actually talks about him only wanting to do 3 decisions a day, no more than 3 decisions. And he basically keeps in shape, and he does everything in order to be in the best position to make those 3 decisions count. So we are going to become a bottleneck if we are super efficient. It's going to take longer to become a bottleneck. If we are good at delegating but keeping still the decision, and then it's going to take still longer, but eventually we're going to be a bottleneck. And the other reason it turns us into bottleneck is that because we are not going to be able to attract the right kind of people if we want to make all the decisions, right? Because we need to have entrepreneur caliber people at some point when you're building a big business. I think Alex Hormozy talks about when you get to 100 million, you need entrepreneurs in every seat, kind of, or entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them. But people who can make decisions, who have an internal drive, who are able, who have the right skills. So if we want to grow this business, we have to keep letting go, and at some point, we need to bring in people that will want to make those decisions, and that's a process.
Yeah. What do you think is an uncomfortable truth when it comes to succession planning that most owners intellectually understand but emotionally avoid?
It's like writing your will or planning your funeral kind of thing. If a business is worth transitioning, then it probably achieved some level of success, which means that it embodies the work of that entrepreneur and what they achieved, and letting go of that and actually seeing someone else being able to do what they did. It's definitely is a loss of status. It's a loss of relevance. When I sold my business, I kind of felt that. I was only 45 years old, but I thought, this guy's not going to be able to run this business well anyhow. And it was kind of a bittersweet thing that, okay, this business is probably going to dwindle. And when it didn't, on the one hand, I was happy because I got my earnout, but I was also a little bit disappointed that I wasn't that important to the business. So there is this dichotomy with transition that it's hard to get used to the idea of changing your life and living a life, and what is it going to look like, and it's going to be different, and is it going to be equally meaningful? I don't know. I'm rambling here.
No, no, it's good. And I just to pull on the thread a little bit, what kind of business was it that you sold?
It was an investment banking business, so we were helping small to medium-sized business owners prepare for exit and then transition out of their business and sell it to private equity groups or strategic buyers. And eventually I got to the point where I realized that I could not anymore fulfill the vision that I originally wanted to have because of changes in the environment, and we wanted to move over here from Europe, and I couldn't. I tried to manage the business for a while from remotely, but I realized it was unsustainable, and I had to let it go. And yeah, so that was the story.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing some of your own perspective because there is a lot of emotion to it. And, this is, I think, where it gets interesting when eventually for some folks it becomes it's not philosophical anymore. It starts becoming real. And how we help make it real is when we can focus on structure. It's one example. And so it's one thing to acknowledge the identity piece, right? And it's another to actually build a company that works without you as the center of everything. And that's a message my audience is so used to hearing from me. So let's shift from mindset to mechanics. So I want to talk about how do we go from just looking at profitability to thinking about being transferable and the business being transferable. How do you distinguish between building a business that's profitable and building one that is actually transferable? And where do owners tend to get confused between the two?
Yeah. So first of all, if the business is profitable, that is a good thing towards transferability. So some people don't even realize that it's not enough to have the top line, to have the great client relationships, to have good products. If the business is not able to be not just marginally profitable, but substantially profitable, most buyers want to see the minimum double-digit net margins. If the business is not able to do that, then it's not going to be transferable. So profit is important, but it's also important that the business is not just an extension of the founder and an amplification of the founder's skills, but it is actually a machine that can make money for other people as well. And that means without the founder, because the founder may stick around for a while, but they won't have the same motivations after they sold the business. And anyhow, at some point they will leave. So the buyers, they really want to buy a business that can work without the founder. And often founders have very special skills that are not even recognized or visible from the outside. There was one client we sold the business of who built this bottling plant, and he developed some products, and it was it was a sizable business, not a big business, but it was something like, I don't know, $30 million revenue. It was very profitable. It probably made $6-7 million of profit. And the company had a very small leadership team. In fact, the founder, who was a very high energy, a young person actually, he was in his late 30s when we sold his business. He basically made all the decisions. He had this scrappy team around him. They were executing whatever he wanted. And the private equity group came in, and then they realized that they actually needed more than one person to replace the CEO. So they hired 3 people. And even the 3 people, they were not as efficient as that one CEO, and that profit margin, which was really nice, 20+%, it dropped to single digits overnight. So maybe that was a bad decision for the buyers. But the point is that the business has to be a machine, a money-making machine, without the founder as well. That's also very important.
Absolutely. You help companies and management teams put in some structural capital, meaning processes and systems. What is some of the first things that you do and you and your team to work with leaders to help them systematize their companies?
We look at, obviously, the first thing we do is we want to make sure that they have a clear vision, and they are aligned around it, and they have a good strategic plan. So that's where we start, and they execute well. They know how to build the capacity of the business to increase the revenue and the profit in the future. They have a good cadence, operating cadence, good KPIs. So that's where we start before actually systematizing the business, because this is the low-hanging fruit. And we call it the 45-day execution momentum. So we install this execution momentum, and then everything becomes easier. And then the question becomes, okay, what are those things that are easiest to delegate to other people? So we start systematizing those functions that right now the leadership team is doing, and with the right kind of blueprints, they could be done by other people, because that's where the most opportunity is, the leadership level. This is where time is most valuable. So we free up the leadership team first, and then we cascade it from there. So when the leadership team has freed up their capacity to be more strategic and more working in the future rather than the present, then we can go to the next level and help them as well. And I really like this idea of separating working on the present. You have to work on the present because to make the profit for this year, but you also have to work on the future, because you have to make sure that the company is going to be bigger next year and have more capacity and more capability. And you have to balance the two. And it's kind of an investment. While you are harvesting, you're investing. And yeah, actually, another Jeff Bezos quote that I really liked, when he was congratulated on the great quarter of Amazon some years ago, he said, "It's got nothing to do with me." What do you mean, nothing? Well, it's actually nothing to do with me, and it's nothing to do with my leadership team. How do you mean? Well, we are all working 5 years out into the future, and the people in the second and third level, they are the ones who are delivering the numbers this year. So start at the top and then cascade from there.
Makes total sense. Have you seen in your experience the either the CEO or owner or the management team feeling like they don't wanna let go of something that you've decided as a group that they should?
Yeah, I do see that sometimes, although I don't see that often, because when people are shown the opportunity to have a bigger impact, most of the time they will take it. If they are not taking it, it's a sign that perhaps they are maxing out, and they are not able to, or they don't believe, which is the same thing, that they are able to elevate themselves, and they want to stay in a comfort zone which they know that they can be successful at, and that's a sign that maybe the company has outgrown them.
Do you think that this is a focus of work for companies of a certain size, or do you think it's all as good advice for a company under 10 million revenue as it is for over 10 million in revenue?
I.e., to identify people who are have been outgrown.
Well, in terms of the whole discussion around how do we systematize our business? How do we have a business that can thrive without the owner, founder? I think for larger companies, it sort of organically happens because as we add more talent to the bench, we have more people and resources. And I think what I've seen, and this is where I'm curious if you've seen it too, where smaller companies can't afford to have the talent. So, okay, we have almost like a vicious circle of the owner kind of in the middle of decision making and, figuring out product services decisions and being the rainmaker for sales. And so they inherently are the organizational bottleneck, but then they also are providing a lot of value. It's kind of like a trap. It's a bit of an owner's trap because they can't get out of that cycle. Once we've broken free of that, which is the magic of trying to help our clients do that, how can they make those right investments to be able to break free? Do you work with larger companies? And again, where this process kind of inherently is quote unquote easier because they have more hands to delegate to? Have you also seen with smaller companies that they can take pieces of the guidance that we're providing today and saying, okay, these are more realistic for me?
That's a really interesting question, and yes, I agree with you. Bigger companies, they inherently will have more of a sense of how to systematize, because they will have some people who have seen bigger companies that have had already systematized. I would say that just being a small company is not a bottleneck to systematizing the business, because I've never seen a company which was maximizing on all his people's talents. What I have seen is that much more often, almost always, that people have a pent up desire to do more, to have a bigger impact, and they just need to be shown how to do it. And then they get very excited about doing that. And this whole process empowers them, it also inspires them to do more. So it's really not, I don't see it as a very frequent issue that the company is too small to systematize. Even an individual can manage their time better, systematize, and especially in the age of AI, we can create our own processes and SOPs, and we can outsource. You don't even have to hire people to outsource. You can use VAs in the Philippines or in South America or anywhere else, in India, and you can delegate stuff to them. ChatGPT will help you create systems. So I don't think there is any barrier. Size is no longer a barrier to growing a business.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's go back to this notion of AI used in small companies. I used to have some folks on the show years ago that were doing AI for who I felt was big co. And I used to ask them, "Is this gonna be achievable for all size companies?" And the answer was, "Yeah, but not yet." And now all of a sudden here we are, and it's very achievable. I think it's really important for everyone listening, if you're a business owner, to take some time and really just use AI. And to the extent you're comfortable with it, which hopefully you will be by using it, encouraging your team. So Steve is giving you some practical ideas, and what he just gave you some golden advice. I just want to add one more thing to what you shared, Steve, which is yes, if you're creating SOPs, the golden nugget here is to do it as text in a document, not a video. Why? Because the text in the document can be read by a model like, or a tool like a chat GPT, but it's harder for them to get that information from a video. So make sure if you're doing it, take a note on that. And Maybe share an example if you have one, Steve. Do you have any clients that have done kind of simple AI development for either using the documentation or process improvement, et cetera?
Yes. So what they have done was we identified the major functions of the business and what are those priority playbooks that they wanted to document, and then they used AI. They fed information into AI. Sometimes that you can do if you have just have videos, you can get it transcribed, and some of the applications even create an SOP with the video. Like you do a Loom video, it spits out your SOP if you do an AI version of it. So yes, so I have seen them using it, and I have encouraged them to use it, and of course then review the result and correct it, but definitely use it.
A lot of our listeners are in the building phase of the business, right? We want to build for scale, but we don't want to break things. So let's talk about this balancing act. For some companies, cash flow is tight and resources are limited. And so they're kind of building the plane while they're flying it. So cash flow constraints can feel real. How should owners prioritize investing in systems and leadership development when resources feel tight?
Put it all on a credit card. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I mean, this, the old adage is absolutely true. Cash is king. So that's the number one job of any business. Like it's the number of job of any organism, and the business is an organism, is to stay alive. And you stay alive, but not by not closing the oxygen pipe, right? Yeah. So I think it's about this idea of building a lean business, and it's about patience. So that I mean, most founders, we want to build our businesses faster than we have resources to do it, and money is obviously the most obvious resource, but people the same thing. So we just have to have the patience. We want to build a lean business so that we create as much resources for growth as possible, and we want to not keep our lifestyle in check to help that process, and then we want to be patient and we want to prioritize. So even if you have limited resources, we are doing those things that the 80-20 rule, that really move the needle, that help us get to the next level. And we also have to allow for mistakes, because everyone makes mistakes, especially somewhat early in the journey. We're going to make tons of mistakes. And one of the benefits of not having a lot of resources is that we're not going to waste as much resources. We're going to be more judicious with the resources. So yeah, it's a big topic, but constraints are actually a very powerful creativity tool. And one of my favorite examples is Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of IKEA, who was a little boy in the middle of rural Sweden, where there were not even people, and he managed to come up with an idea how to start a business by selling pens on mail order to country folks, and then turn it into the furniture, and then through innovation built the biggest dominant furniture business the world has ever seen. So constraints are a good thing, because they're going to spur your creativity, and yeah, you need patience too.
So I want to talk about one thing that's kind of the big why, which is if we're building a business that can thrive without us, we're building a business that can be sold at any time, it's going to be a more valuable business. And you wrote a book about it. And I want to kind of dive into the topic about thinking about exit planning. And there's a lot of folks who own a business. Oh, I'm not ready to exit, so I don't need to worry about this yet. So what are they missing if they feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Stephen Covey who said, probably a lot of people before him as well, that begin with the end in mind. So if you are building a business, then think about, okay, why are you building this business? Are you building a lifestyle business that you just want to harvest for its cash flow, and you just want to be that smartest person in the room, surrounded by people that you like, and this is that's completely fine. Is this what you want? Then just make sure that you have a good 401k, and you stash money away. Or do you want to create an asset that will be valuable to you at some point in the future? or are you going to create a legacy that you want to be proud of, that will live beyond you and maybe memorize your work? So that's the most important thing. Begin with the end in mind, and then you can just work from there. You can reverse engineer and figure out your timeline, whether it's 5 years or 25 years, whatever it is, and where do you want to get to, and then you can figure out what you need to do in the meantime to get there. And in most cases, it involves growing your business. So there are blueprints for growing a business, such as Summit OS is one of them, but there are others. And you need to figure out what kind of transition you want, if that's what you want at the end. I mean, everyone transitions, so it's not really an option. You might transition by just dying in the harness, and you might transition by bequeathing your business to your family, or an ESOP, or it could be a buyer for big paycheck, which you can then do something else with the money. So decide what you want, reverse engineer, figure out your timeline, figure out what kind of effort you need to do. Is it enough for you just to grow single digit, or do you need to grow 20% a year to get there? And then that will inform your decisions as to what to do, and who can help you with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice for no matter the size company that you are. And I love the concept of reverse engineering your exit. I totally agree with you on that. So, Steve, we've talked a lot today about lots of different things. I think making your business more attractive to buyers, making it more transferable, making it more scalable, having the right people on your team. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you wanted to share?
Well, I guess one of the things that maybe fewer people speak about, especially in the space I work, which is how do you create sustainably high margins in your business? And especially in these days of disruption, and you already mentioned AI, which is a major disruptor, but it's not just AI, there are other disruptors happening, and competition is fierce. And if you figure something out, then your competitors will try to copy it, and so you have to keep innovating. And but how do you create a business which can sustain high margin profitability going forward? And Michael Porter talks about the unique activities that you want in your business, and how do you develop these unique activities. So that's one of the topics I'm very excited about. Incidentally, I wrote another book about it, called Strategy OS, is how do you develop those unique activities so that you can create like a puzzle piece. So in this graphic behind me, you see the little profit. So the little puzzle piece. So these puzzle pieces are the unique activities in your business that represent things that you do differently from others, and in combination, which are really difficult to copy. And when we talk about IKEA, which has dominated the furniture retail for 60 years, the only way they could do it is that they developed activities that cannot be copied in combination. So yeah, so that's a big topic. So if you have a business and you figured out how to have this business execute well, and you've got the right people in the right seats, and you empower your people, and they are inspired to act as mini CEOs, then and you've got all the systems in the business, the next stage is how do you build this unique combination of activities that is gonna create this high profit business that you can sustain for the long haul.
Absolutely. Steve, we've had such a great conversation today. I'm sure people are going to want to learn more about you. What's a way they can follow up with you after the show?
So they can check out my website, stevepreda.com, and they can visit LinkedIn. You're connected me on LinkedIn, Steve Preda, Preda. Don't confuse me with the shoe brand. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you and see what you're up to.
And we'll also have the links in the show notes. Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. I think it's been clear that this is a conversation. It's something people can be considering with intention for how to grow the value of their business and consider succession and transition over a period of time. This just certainly doesn't happen overnight. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's a long game. We have to play the long game, and the actually, the older founders get, often the more patience they develop, which is kind of counterintuitive. But I think long-term decisions are often the best decisions.
Absolutely. So thanks to Steve for being my guest today on Succession Stories. And before we wrap, I just want to say to our audience, thank you so much for being with us. And if today's conversation resonated with you, especially if you're building a business as a founder and quietly wondering how to make it less dependent on you, this is exactly why Succession Stories exist. So be sure to like and follow the show. Also, you can find all of our past shows on our YouTube channel. So thanks so much again for Steve being with us today, and join us next time on Succession Stories.
Thanks. It was a great pleasure to be here. Thank you, Laurie.